About almost anything is an online random show, most of the time about the life I live and the things we do together. Have been really enjoyable. But today is the 22nd anniversary of Witch School, which is my biggest thing, and the 144th anniversary of the Corellian tradition as we know it today. And it's a fantastic feeling. It's I can't tell you how wonderful it feels to see it. So if which Glow was an card this year was their main card. It is the card of the world. And today on the various channels that we have, especially Pagan World TV, we're going to be sharing a lot of great pictures and videos we took at the Parliament of World Religions, which has got a direct tie-in to Witch School and why it exists. Today, we're going to show you pictures of all of our members and whoever they were with, and we have videos and interviews from the Corellian Press Corps and amazing work they did. Uh, I can't even name them all. I won't even try to today. A little bit. I know Lori Blackman, the Corellian Press Secretary, who is now in charge of Witch School. Let me clear up something I said yesterday. I am committed to creating a better version of Witch School. Yes, I am. But it is not Witch School today. I'm very fortunate. Is under the instruction of Corellian Education Ministry, its own not-for-profit. And I am not a member of the board. I'm not a member of it. I have not been on a member of the board since 3/8, 2023, because I knew I wanted to build a new school, and I did not necessarily agree with the current administration at that time. Um, and of course, and various things happened. But on this 22nd anniversary, I've made a recommitment to developing the school. Why? Either it'll be this school or it'll be another one very similar, because I believe education is the primary duty of freedom. Let me go ahead and say it. Until we are free to educate ourselves in the way that we choose to educate ourselves, there is no real freedom in culture. We are forced to follow whatever is the dictates of those who are paying for the education. So 22 years ago, we launched witchschool.com. It was a free educational system with small pay for pay. It was a revolutionary time, and it was laughed at. Oh my gosh, it was so laughed at. But on that first day, we had 1,200, and by signed up within hours. We almost crashed the site. I was so fast. My own registration number, my personal registration number is 171. That's right. Because I was at work at the time that they began the process, and I was so excited. So it was started by Don Lewis, Lisa Tuitt, and myself, and we took on three different roles to do so. Don Lewis was writing the content. Lisa Tuitt was the genius software engineer who built the original site that would last for more than 15 years without much change in the basic programming. And in fact, her legacy continues. And I was the financier, marketer. I was the one who was really trying to push it out there. And I was doing marketing and promoting to do so, and we did such a great job. And we believed that people needed a Wicca education. One of the problems that was happening at the time was that Wicca, witchcraft, paganism, were not getting the kind of love it was. And so became the first online school for Wicca, for paganism, for witchcraft, for all these subjects that was public in nature, that was dedicated at the average person. Because if I believe it was good for me to be a witch, so was it to you. So what is a witch? So you want to be a witch was the campaign. And we offered that. And we offered the ability to become the beginnings of clergy, online clergy. Now, Cherry Hill Seminary formed about the same time as we did. And they were very focused and still focused on the college level work that is often needed by people. So I'm really kind of pleased with that. That's a really good group. One of my friends had just joined it. I know a lot of people are involved with it, and I think that it's a good thing. But we were a public school and continues to be the public school. The idea that we can reach a lot of people. So we went from a couple thousand people, and we kept growing. In 2023, we were in Hoopson, Illinois, to have the huge confrontation with Christianity when we tried to move into that area, and we were at 65,000 today. I just looked at the site, and it is over 298,000 almost 300,000 people just on that site. And it's formed hundreds of traditions, hundreds of people that are clergy, thousands of people who are high priests. And they've gone through the process. And not only that, they've gone out and built temples and other things. Now, how does Witchkull tie into the Correllian tradition? Well, actually, we started out as being pretty independent of the tradition. That was something that was very interesting. It was I built it as a business. It was meant to be a business for a moment because I knew the structures of 501c3s, as we've recently seen through all of these, has always been a little bit corrosive to entrepreneurial or risk taking events. That's right. If you see successful projects in the community, it's usually because somebody's willing to take a risk and that they do so. But once that risk is over, that once it becomes established, once it becomes taken care of, other types of administrators and people are needed and that sort of thing. But in the beginning, you need somebody who's going to bite their nails and just do it and damn the consequences. So for me, witch school, now Corellianism has existed for a very long time, and I will let others talk about that today. Um, I had joined in the 90s, but immediately began into study groups, magazines, and other promotional materials. The Daily Spell in 1998, November 11th, 1998, became probably one of the most singular important uh, events for us because that's when we moved into an online newsletter. And that online newsletter would be the beginning formats of it. And what would happen is, well, first we started putting out spells and other things, and we tried to do, we did put some books and things like that. And finally, we started adding our own lessons of the day, and that grew. And we had like 1,200 people. The site had we made a mistake. Mistake. Spirit says there are no mistakes. And what was it? It was the idea of that we didn't close the group on a system called One List. Anybody could join. And it was originally intended to be an internal system of sharing inside this material. But we had it open and it grew like wildfire. We had thousands of people on that page. 1,200 people had actually filled out survey lessons. And in that series of lessons, they would send them to Don and his original mentors. Fabricia, Anna, uh, Carla Summers was involved with that, the regulator who'd eventually become the dean of the school, and we began to build. So today, our 22nd anniversary, we are excited to do so. What does this mean for us today? Well, today it's also Corellian Day, and we're going to celebrate the Parliament of World's Religions. The direct tie-in between the Parliament of World's Religions of 1993 and 2023 was that idea of representation. I was challenged to show that we had fair representation, that we were a real organization, that we were really more than just, they called it covens in the basement. And the idea was that we all lived in our basements. We all kind of worked out of the basements or odd spaces or odd places, and we still do to this day. But that there was no numbers to prove it. You couldn't prove we were like a faith, a religion. In '93, that was virtually impossible. We had not had the Pentagram Project. We hadn't had Christine Temple. We hadn't had these events. We had a little bit of a radio show, Pagan Night. It was Psychic Chicago Radio, and we did that work. And we had a lot of fun with that. And we were teaching study groups through magazines. And Don was taking very oral tradition, and he was putting it together along with Lady Crystal. And they began writing and creating this idea of us in a more modern context. So really, in '93, we started seeing the Corellians move into a more modern context than we had seen previously. Um, Lady Bitterwin warned us, and actually, her prophecy came to pass. Just this summer, Lady Bitterwin warned us about the idea of getting too big, too large, too energetic with the tradition, that it would eventually be forced to split. That it would split just because of human nature. She was a very smart woman, and that the bureaucracy of it may overcome the teaching of it. So Witchbowl has continued. In 2015, it became a separate not for profit, but it's had a lot of existences. And always, what it did most is teach people Wicca, witchcraft. So on that day, 22 years ago, we began that process. And that has led to the largest Wiccan tradition in the world by the numbers. And what did that mean? It means we put 60 people at the parliament. Went from me being at the parliament, the only real Corellian at the parliament, to being a major number of Corellians at the parliament. And today we're going to show you that Corellians were at the 1993 Parliament of World's Religions, or the potential of it. We're still trying to prove it in fact, but it does exist uh, in circumstantial evidence. We have tickets, we have talks. But in 2023, the Reverend Phoenix Williams, who is now the regent of the Corellian Tradition, CNC, Corellian Nativist Church Incorporated, along with Reverend Don Lewis and Right Reverend Rain Packery, was actually included in the procession. No, we'd been in the procession before. In 2015, Stephanie Neal walked the procession for us, and it was beautiful photograph. We got an opportunity to do so. But in 2023, we actually walked in the procession to get on stage. And that was the original goal of Witch School, to show that we had the numbers and to have a common language and to basically show that we were serious about what we do. And we are today still continuing the process. So in 2023, today, you're going to see all of that film that's going to be out on Pagan World TV and other spaces across the way. So I hope you're going to enjoy that. Literally hundreds and hundreds of pictures and dozens of videos are heading your way. Probably starting in a couple of hours. And we're going to be celebrating that. But now we're at a crossroads. We're at a serious, serious crossroads. And this is where we're at. So we've done all this, great. But I tell people all the time, your past doesn't equal your future. So we've done this really great thing. We are doing this energetic thing. We have family members. We have in Spanish. We have translations. We have all of these things and organizations. And we have literally hundreds of churches, covens, practicing groups who rely either on Witch School. Australia is very much about Witch School, to the Corellian tradition and other parts of it. And there have been and are more than one branch of Corellian tradition that have formed out of it. Witch School has never really been about developing Corellians. It is all developing about people who practice magic. That must never be forgotten. And so what do? We kind of sit out there and create energetic situations. And there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and say hi. Oh my God, I forgot to turn on. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Miss Lord Algam. And yeah, it does sound very interesting. I hope so. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So one of the things I want to do with the next version of my version of Witch School, whether it be Witch School that's under the CEM, under Lori Blackman, who's done really yeoman's work over the last couple of years trying to keep it on task, keep it on that. And it's been difficult because one of the things that we see is it comes down to taste and everything else. And in 2015, 2016, 2017, it began their rebuild. And they rebuilt it and started to limit it. They tried to pull back. Who will be doing the lessons on the same side? Same way we have always done it. Mary, let me go. I'll show that. All right. And you know what? How we've always done it? Through a series of mentors and automations. So I plan to have actually a lot more teachers on it. Thank you. So one of the new features, let me go ahead and I will talk a little bit about the features that we need. So now Witch School's at a crossroads. Whether the next school I build is Witch School and under CEM, under them, if they give me the permission to, if they do so, or it'll be a separate school altogether. We're going to start Psychic Academy here this week. There's a lot of things that what do we have to have? We have to have mentors. Mentors were always crucial to it. And one of the things I think the diminishment of temple mentors and the number of mentors involved, they've never gotten enough love. They've never gotten enough support. They've never gotten, and when we were doing it at the height of it, we've always needed more to that. At one time, Witchell had over 150 mentors. So that thing that and mentors were different. They had different qualifications. They brought in the temples. Most of the early temples formed out of witch school lessons and practices. We need better study groups. We used to have that. We need to have more face-to-face interaction. We have to bring back the community in and around the lessons. And so we need to really build a campus. Now we have advantages. So we were the first on YouTube to bring lessons, and we did video lessons. We were some of the first to do so. Um, and now today we can do a lot more about that. So we need live study groups. We need live mentor programs. We can do lessons. We can do lectures. We can bring a lot more to the table. Now, this is going to cost, yes. And the way Witch School has always worked is that it was always kind of, you pay very small amounts of money. Originally, it was $29.99 for a lifetime. That still does exist today, maintained today. If you bought a $29.99, then a $49.99, and then later we'd raise it to $99. And today it's $299, still the same value. And so there we did. Probably, and we still did that. So we are excited about that idea. So we've done that through that. We have monthly memberships and things of that nature. But if you bring a lot of people together under a very small amount of money, it becomes a larger amount of money, and we're able to do the work with a combination of paid staff, a little bit of paid staff, and a large amount of volunteers, created something absolutely fantastic that ended up us able to teach and develop leaders across the board. The other thing it has to do is we have to go focus back on both children, though we can't take digital data from the DCMA, and retarget and I would love to have you help. We're going to see what happens over the next little bit. We're going to have abilities. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about it. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that energy in October. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to continue the mission that I've started of teaching people to be witches, to be magicians, to be practitioners of magic. And that is my personal energy. And now that I am ready to do that, thank you. That we're going to continue this process. And we need to refocus on the youngest generations. People have asked me, who is the ideal original student? And I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you, it was 15-year-olds, making it possible for the average 15-year-old to take lessons. And our leadership has emerged from that program across the board. We were big in Philippines. We did a campaign in Philippines. We've done a big campaign in South America. We've done European campaigns. We've done African. South Africa has got the oldest Corellian community. And so we need to kind of fix that. Most people don't realize it, but South Africa community actually predates and is one of the reasons why Witch School was so important. Because they were coming through the Daily Spell. We met them. They were building their groups. But in 2001, September 4th, we began a process that would automate some of the duties, automated testing, automatic transcripts, and that really freed people up to do lessons, really up to do mentoring. So what can we do today? The technology has changed dramatically. Right now, the technology is over 20 times, 20 exponential times stronger than it was. What does that mean? It means what costed $1. My original website cost me $75 for the name. It's cheaper today. It's actually gone back up. And we paid $99 for 1 gigabyte of storage. And now we pay probably a couple $100 for storage, a couple $1,000 a month. Our expenses are up there. And that's one of the things that, of course, we've always had to rely on, and we continue to rely on. But month after month, day after day, we have continued on that process. And today, it's 288 months later, we're still here today. So I want to thank you. So join Witch School today. I recommend everybody joining Witch School. It's a free education. If you're young, join. If you're old, join. We've had members from across the world. If you are from another country, the U.S., Witch School doesn't care. We're in 195 countries, and we've done well with it. And one of the things we've done well with it is develop the type of leadership that has made a significant difference in a number of people's lives. We've also given people the right of mind. I'm so honored, and one of the greatest thrills of my life is when people come up to me and say, "Ed, thank you. Um, we really appreciate it. This is how," and I go, "Really? Why?" And this is how I changed my life. It gave me more confidence. It gave me a family to be supportive. It gave me a lot of energy. It allowed me to be show leadership. It helped me find people in my neighborhood. It found people in my area. I've been able to go to different events, and through that, you know, and through Pagan Pride and through other things we support, people have been able to find their way to us and find a better personal inner life. And that's what's really important. So at the end of the day, Corellian Day, we're going to see tons of information. And 22nd year event at Witch School. What does year 23? Because today is the day, the tarot card of the world. Today is the manifestation of that world. And man, that's been a 22 card journey. What is 23? We start the journey over. We become the fool again and find new ways to serve the next generation, this generation, and all of us together can make a huge difference. And we can make a great and continue this positive education, this positive community, this very positive and powerful energy into the world. And we'll see what happens. But I'm committed now more than ever, after the events of this last Parliament, to continue the process of education and development of online education, and more importantly, education in your neighborhood, in your areas. So check it out. Pagan World's also part of this, but today, enjoy Witch School and check it out. Blessed be. And thank you, Mary. Thank you for being here today. I love it. Thank you, Lord Agam, Lord Blue Soul, and everybody watching. At 1 o'clock today, I am having, I sent it out. I'm going to have a face to face with anyone who wants it. If you want to check closer on my personal Facebook page, I'll put a link into it. It is a private Zoom channel, so we're going to have a discussion today at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Central Time, which I think is UTC -6. I'll have to check that out. All right. Blessed be. Enjoy Corellian Day. Enjoy the pictures. Enjoy the videos. Please share them often. And go and tell us what you think about Witch School. Blessed be.